Hi, I'm Dr. Lawrence Woods, and occasionally I get a email asking, why does my stomach hurt only when I sit? So I'm going to try to unpack this today, and I'm going to give you some advice as if you were one of my clients, okay? Now, not always is it mechanical, but today in this video, you could have a medical condition, and I'm not really going to get into that in this video. I'm not going to give medical advice. But what I'm going to talk about here is stomach hurting from sitting from a mechanical point of view, okay? So let's keep that in mind, okay? So let's start with that. When you're born, your thorax, from here to here, whatever this dimension is, you're given that. And it doesn't matter if you, like I'm an American, so I have to be careful, but as you put layers on and on and on, right, whatever's inside that cavity is it, right? And so if you watch like a competition, like in the States, they have these hot dog eating contests or pie eating or you know, whatever, it's always the real skinny guy that wins. And you wonder, well, why is that the case? And the reason being is because they can really expand, right? And so if like I'm kind of heavy, like, and as you get heavier, you're putting more layers on, but the cavity itself, the thorax, is whatever you're born with, and as you become a mature adult. So with that in mind, the ratio should be, if we look at the ratio, it's the golden ratio actually, it's 1.62 in width this way, and 1 in depth. So that ratio is throughout all nature. And so as that ratio starts changing, you start changing pressure within the thorax. And you're changing within the spine, you create what they call interthecal pressure. It's all just pressure, hydrostatic pressure. It's pushing down. And so the key thing here is if you're sitting and you're getting stomach pain, I would be, if I was a betting man, I'd be willing to bet that you're not sitting, bending from your hips, you're bending from the middle part of your back. And let me show you how you can fix that. So I want to start with the way I'm sitting right now. Notice that I'm sitting with my knees at 90 degrees, my hips at 90 degrees, and I'm kind of, this is most of us, we all sit like this, right? 90, 90, 90. We're all told to sit like this. But notice that when I sit in this position, I'm kind of slumping. My shoulders are rounding. My head's going forward. And if we look a little closer, I'm not using these muscles. I'm not using these muscles, my hamstrings, the quads. I'm not using the glutes. But I am using my back. I'm using my backbone, and I'm rounding my head forward. My head's going forward, and I'm rounding, and I'm compressing down on that thoracic cavity. Okay, and again, the ratio is starting to change now. Instead of going 1.62 to 1 ratio, I'm starting to go 1 to 1, and we all start centralizing like that, right? So the best way to ameliorate that, to fix that, is to make sure that your hips, when you're sitting, are always higher than your knees. Let me explain what I mean. This is what I came up with for clients of mine who happen to have this condition, where when they sit down, they get these stomach pains, and this tends to help them a lot. So when you're sitting, you want to sit on a kind of an angle. Make sure your hips are well above your knees. As I sit in this position, notice you can see my hips are above my knees, and what happens here is my pelvis tilts forward. When my pelvis tilts forward, my head comes back, and my spine naturally goes back into its neutral posture, or S-curve. And so the spine then acts as a coil or a spring. The diaphragm pushes down, right? And I'm creating more of a vacuum within the thorax. I'm creating, and the ratios start changing. Notice right here, it's 1 to 1.162, right? So we get that ratio back again. So you can see I'm sitting in this position. So when you're sitting, you want to make sure, if you're sitting and you experience mechanical stomach pain from sitting, you want to make sure your hips are well above your knees when you're sitting. Now, here's the caveat for that. Let me explain what you should consider. I recommend for my patients, if they're going to sit on a seat cushion like this, and this is something I designed, you want to make sure that it has 2 layers. You want to have a nice, firm foam base, polyfoam with, we put polyfibers in there, so to make sure, to ensure that we maintain that angle, and the top layer should be made out of natural latex. We've tried everything. We've tried all these. We learned the hard way. We used the memory foams and polyurethanes, but they just bottomed out. They were hot, and they just didn't have the support that natural latex foam has. And so I recommend those 2 types of foams. It should be 2 layers, natural latex on the top, and a poly foam with a ribbon on the bottom. The material on the top should be isotropic, meaning it should stretch. It should stretch in 4 dimensions, because that's going to have some give, and it's going to feel much more comfortable, and it allows the foams underneath to do their job. The bottom of the seat cushion should have a non-slip backing, because if that starts slipping around, start moving, it's going to throw your posture off and then chances are you're going to change those ratios and you're going to create intrathecal pressure into abdominal pressure, and you're not going to feel well. So again, you want to make sure that this is staying in place. You want to get it nice in the right position, and you don't want to move. And it's always a good idea to make sure that it's portable and transportable, right? Because you don't want to go out to dinner and sit at 90 and create that intra-abdominal pressure while you're eating, and you won't enjoy your meal. So if you take this out to dinner with you, you can sit there and you're sitting in alignment, you're sitting much more comfortably. You can take it on planes, you can take it in the car, in the office. It just works really well.